Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi, and welcome to Reloscope, the Relationship Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm Stella, your host from Melbourne, Australia. Let's start the show. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Reloscope, the Relationship Science Insights podcast. Every relationship has its ups and downs. Every relationship is bound to plateau at some point. It is a sentiment that I am quite familiar with. So if you're experiencing that at the moment, my heart is with you. In this episode, we'll be speaking to relationship and marriage fitness coach Rebeca Islam to learn about how to brave through a chapter like this and reignite the spark in a dying relationship. Hi, Rebecca. How are you going today?
I am awesome. Going great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
That's amazing. Fine, thank you. I'm on my second cup of coffee, which is great because I'm trying to cut down from 3 cups of coffee and I don't think I need one after this. So I'm going strong. So tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into this.
Well, I had few relationship bumps in my journey of life. And one day I got into thinking, why is this happening to me, and why every time, and why me? All those questions are coming. And what I've noticed is the common denominator was me. So I wanted to look into myself. What am I doing wrong? What I could be doing better? That took me to a journey of knowing myself. And that journey has been a very long journey, 13 years now.
Wow.
Yes. And through that, I came into life coaching just so that I can learn more about myself, better myself. From there, I decided, oh my God, this is a revelation. Everybody needs this. And that's when I decided that this is my purpose, that God has taken me through all these difficulties so that I can be strong enough to help others who are going through this. And that's what brings me up, my own journey.
That's an amazing story. I'm really excited to pick your brain and have you share some of your expertise and your revelations with us. It sounds like a great story.
Absolutely.
But before we get started, let's get to know you a little bit. This is Have You Met Rebeca Islam? So what is your favorite book?
Well, my favorite book is the verbatim word of the Almighty Creator, which I believe to be the Quran. And I go back to it when I need to reflect on myself and what I can do better. It's the go-to book for me.
Yeah, that sounds great and really self-introspective and self-reflective. Do you have a favorite movie?
Yes, Avatar. All-time favorite.
Avatar.
Yes.
Which one? The Last Airbender or the one with the blue people?
Yes. No, that is
the one with the blue people.
Yes.
Oh, The Last Airbender. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite podcast? Do you listen to any?
Yes, I do. Well, to toot my own horn, I've got my own podcast that's called Divorce Chronicles, but I do also listen to other people's podcasts, and my favorite one is called The Mindset Mentor by Rob Dyer. My favorite.
That's great. You got to toot your own horn sometimes. You do. So what's the last course you've completed?
The last course I've completed is the Masters of Life Coaching, specializing in relationship coaching and leadership coaching. Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you learn there?
So much. It's like 3-4 years course. So I can't be concising everything in just 2 minutes. But yes, how to have better relationship and how to be the best person you can be, which helps maintaining and actually flourishing those relationships. Yes.
Yeah, I never realized that life coaching, that like I didn't realize there was a degree in life
Oh, there
coaching.
is.
What kind of like courses do they offer?
Oh, they have a certificate course. They have a diploma, masters. Yes. Also,
Yeah,
yeah.
wow. That's actually quite a huge range. So let's move on to the interview section.
Mhm.
The first question we like to ask is, how would you define or describe a relationship?
Well, how I see relationship is how you treat yourself and how you treat others. Everything starts with self, your manners, your behavior, what you're talking to yourself. And also the same things goes for how you're treating others, the manners, the behavior, how you're talking to them. And relationship is the connectedness, the connection. The most important that I have seen, if I can bring it down to the core, is how well do you know yourself and how well do you navigate those emotions when you are at the high peak emotions and you are at the lowest of the low emotions that you feel. How do you act at those points? How do you behave? How do you treat others at those points? That will define how good relationship you have with self and others.
Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it. I never really thought of it that way. I don't think I ever actually reflected on how I treat others when I'm at my highest versus when I'm at my lowest. And I think that's something that I should probably think about more. Yeah, cool.
And
In your opinion, does a relationship still hold the same meaning, structure, and importance as, let's say, a decade, like 10 years ago?
yeah, yeah. Um, well, I was listening to one of the podcasts from someone, and he was saying that he heard this from a museum guy who was doing a tour. And because he deals with, 100 years back things and even more going back, he had this perspective and he shared with those group of people who were doing the tour that people have been people as long as they have been people, meaning as long as you go back, the first human being maybe, our fears, our love, our needs, emotions have been the same. What changed is how we have developed ourselves, how we handle those emotions. So over the last decade, I have what I noticed is so much has changed in terms of how the women have progressed in like taking care of themselves financially, what opportunities they have in front of them. So now people, not only women and men also, can discard things quicker. They don't spend as much time to rebuild and reconnect and fix those things, especially relationship. So I find that women have come a long way to take care of themselves, which now makes the men in general, I'm not talking about the minority where there are things going differently. I'm talking about majority. Now, men are falling behind in terms of being the leader they need to be in the family, in that relationship. Either they are feeling more inferior, or they're feeling I don't have the capability, capacity, or I just don't want to take that responsibility. I don't want to do it. So yes, since last decade, I would say that has plummeted, and which has changed the dynamics of the relationship. And people are giving in and quitting quicker.
Yeah. That is very interesting. I agree with you there that I think a lot has changed that has made people feel comfortable calling it quits before it bef- before it's too late. And it's very interesting because I come from a different environment and a different cultural background where marriage is so highly sought after.
Mhm.
And so I'm from Singapore, and it is very difficult to get a flat, and you can't get a flat until you're like 35
Mhm.
if you're single.
Mhm.
So a lot of people go for marriage really young.
Mhm.
And as a result, like people are less afraid to call it quits, or they're more like perseverant, they're more resilient
Mhm.
in the relationships. But I also have heard like adverse things, like some people don't really like that they feel the need to stay in the relationship when they don't want to. So I think it's probably like as much as it's a pro, it's a con kind of situation.
Mhm.
And if people had the free will to do as they please, then it probably would be a very different situation. And yeah, I see a lot of my friends call it quits quicker.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's really, really interesting to think about.
Mhm.
How do you define dating?
Well, dating for me, what I understand is getting to know the other person, their values, their manners, their habits, their perspective of life, of the world, their belief system, and then finding out the compatibility between the two, the chemistry. There is that spark, that physical spark. That with am I feeling that being drawn to, and also finding out about how they process the emotions, their peak emotions and their lowest emotions, and how they express those. So when we are able to find out those through, chats, through, close proximity, we talk about these things, trying to find out about each other's habits and values and the things I've mentioned. I think that is dating. But these days, what I see is dating means, just first few dates, and then you go to bed together, and that lasts, however that long lasts, that's dating. But dating is mainly to find out, are we compatible in the long run?
And then afterwards, like once you found out, or like once you have decided you are compatible in the long run, that's when you progress into a relationship.
That's right. That's right. It's like getting into a contract. So if you have a business and you make a business proposal, the other party and both parties sees if you have the same values, if you can have business together. If you don't have similar mindset, then you can't run that business together. And then you go into that contract. Yes, we will do business for whatever long, as long as it's beneficial for both of us. Yeah. But I don't mean that relationship is business, but at some level, there is this transaction of emotion, transaction of time and energy. So in those perspectives, yes, you can say it is a, business deal.
Yeah, there is a parallel there. I agree with you. What is the role of love within a relationship? What kind of, what part does it play? What purpose does it give?
Well, love to me is, can I let the other person, the other thing, it could be even a thing, be themselves without me wanting to manipulate to go it my way, without me wanting to control. Can I let them be autonomous, or do I need to hover over them? Can I love my rejected parts within myself that I hate? Can I accept those and love those? And therefore, when I do that, I have the capability to accept the other person's rejected part and the part they don't love about themselves. And when we are open and more acceptable to those, love and acceptance flourishes, and the connection, when you feel that, you know, whatever you hate within yourself, if I am more open and acceptable to that, you'll feel like this person understands me, this person gets me. So from there, it's easier for you to be more strong on those areas of life that you feel you need to improve. So I think that is love, whereas opposite to love is wanting to control and wanting everything to be gone my way. But when I say that, I don't mean that when I'm accepting everything about you, that I accept that you violate my boundaries, or you are mistreating, or you are being violent and aggressive. You can have all emotion. We can have all our emotion, the good ones, the bad ones, the negative ones, the more comforting ones. But it comes down to, again, I have every right to feel those and express those. But am I expressing it in a way that is harmful to you? That is,
mix.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry,
all right.
what you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that is love, you know? Now, if I am at my worst or at my highest emotion, I treat you in a way, it's like bring you close and leave you like hot and cold, hot and cold. So I'm not being there for you. I'm not even being there for myself, because what I am doing is creating the worst relationship for me. That means at that moment, I'm not loving myself as well as I'm not loving you, or respecting myself or respecting you. So I think love, that is love, allowing you to be yourself with my boundaries not being violated or taken advantage of.
Yeah, and there's a way to express emotions, but like without putting it on the other person and telling them what to do. You know, it's just like letting them know, hey, this is how I feel. Do with it what you want. I would like certain things. I don't expect you to do them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that point. What I am understanding that you are saying is knowing that what is acceptable for me, or knowing what is my needs, my emotion, and then also what are my non-negotiables. Like, these are the things I need, but what are the things that I absolutely need? And if it goes below that, it wouldn't work. So for us to know that what are my non-negotiables, I need to know myself first.
Yeah, I find that the older I grow, the longer the list of my non-negotiables as well, which makes it sound like really, really difficult to get into a relationship. But at the same time, it's like you kind of know, all right, well, if you get into a relationship, then it's a quality one. It's one of quality, and you're not just, you know, winging it as you go, because you know exactly what you want.
That's right.
Yeah. So in your experience, what are some common signs or indicators that a relationship is losing its spark?
Well, the first and most common sign is, am I putting in the effort as I used to before in the dating, in the first few months? You know, am I dressing up nicely for the person? Am I smelling nicely for the person? Am I doing my hygiene habits for the person? And then there comes a time when we become too comfortable and we go to each other just for comfort, or just for with the negative emotions. Oh, I had a bad day and things. Yeah, there is that space for that as well. But if we are constantly coming to each other with the negativity, all the negative that's happening in our life separately, and then coming together just to meet those, just to express those negatives, that means the negatives are pulling us down, and we are expressing that. At the same time, how many positives are we sharing with each other? How many positive situations are we creating where we feel the uplifting emotions, not just only the negative emotions? So is there a balance? Are we creating those balance? But that will only people who are aware will be able to notice that. The people who are not aware, then the surface level symptoms are, am I feeling the same way? Meaning, am I feeling the same way to put in the effort for the other person in terms of money, energy, time, in terms of how I look, how I present myself, all those things.
So what are some common challenges and obstacles that couples might face when trying to revive their love?
Well, common challenges would be, their belief. The most important is their mindset and their growth, especially their growth mindset. Do they have a growth mindset? And if they don't, they will make everything else. What are people saying? What's the society saying? What will they say? I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I'm like that. I can't be changed. That's who I am. You accept it or you leave it, So those are the mindset and common challenges that people go through. People think, this is who I am. I can't change. And
when people get into that mindset, is it completely impossible out of reality to even come back from it or overcome these challenges?
Absolutely not. It starts with mindset. It ends in mindset as well. As soon as you start taking account, auditing your mindset, your limiting beliefs or your belief system, your values and your habits, when you look into those, it will be very easy to reel back and go to where your mindset was in the beginning of the relationship, or even just when you look into those, you will set a vision for the relationship, a purpose for the relationship, and it becomes so easy to revive the relationship.
So how, more specifically, how can people going through these overcome the challenges and maintain the momentum in the relationship?
So to overcome the challenges, they have to fit their mindset. So fitting their mindset would mean they would listen to people who are having good relationship, who are relationship mindset mentors, or even in general growth mindset mentors. They would be going to, there must be a structure to revive that relationship. So in structure-wise would be, do I have people who support us together? Do we support us? Do we support each other in growth? And then, are we taking maybe counseling, therapy, coaching sessions? Are we actively working on our own griefs, how we handle emotion and knowing our emotion, and then processing those in a way and expressing those in a way that is beneficial for both of us?
So the honeymoon phase, let's talk about that. There are some misconceptions surrounding that idea of the honeymoon phase and reviving a relationship, and that oftentimes the honeymoon phase can never be recaptured. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts, it reminds me of a verse from the glorious Quran, that God the Almighty, the creator of the heavens and the earth, he says, if you fear breach between you two, then appoint an arbitrator. So this could be some like therapists, counselor, people who can help. And then he goes on to saying that something like, if they both want reconciliation, then Almighty Creator will cause that reconciliation. But he also reminds at the same time, indeed, the Almighty Creator is ever knowing, and he is acquainted with all things. So meaning, sometimes we might verbally say, "Oh, I want to revive this relationship," yeah, but that I'm not taking into task of my habits, my my behavior, manner, my emotion, or how I think, the mindset. But I'm saying just for the purpose of saying, but not taking responsibility towards the growth, then that's not going to happen. But when genuinely both people are wanting it, God has promised He will make that happen. So my question then becomes, do we genuinely want it? If we do genuinely want it, it will show in our action, in our speech, in our thinking.
In that case, if one person in the relationship genuinely does want it and the other is not
very
as
keen,
willing, would it work?
Yes, very good question. Thanks for asking that. It would still work. It would not be as easy as when both of you are wanting it. It would still work. It's like, have you done a 3-legged race, Eva?
I can't. Wait, I think I probably have in like primary school or something.
Yeah.
In one of those like sports days. Sorry, when you said 3-legged race, I was thinking of myself having 3 legs, and I was like, I can't say I have 3 legs. I'm so sorry, but yeah, I know what you're talking about now. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I've done it before.
Yeah, so it's 2 people. They're adjacent legs are tied together. So now you have 3 legs.
Yeah.
Yes. And then if you work together, if you can find your rhythm, you would, and you have the speed, you would be able to run and win that game. But just imagine it's a 3-legged race. Yeah. So these are the 2 people coming together. These 2 legs are bound together. Mm-hmm. Now you are trying to run and move it forward, and this person just sits down. Is it still is it still possible to move forward? Yes. Just imagine the speed.
Yeah, it's just gonna take a while and a lot more effort.
Yes, it is possible, and you can reach that point, but it won't be as enjoyable. It won't be as easy and less time consuming, and yeah, I guess those are the points. Yeah.
Well, that's a really good analogy. I have to admit, every time I've done a 3-legged race, I'm always the weak link because it's not because I don't want to do it. It's just because I am a lot more physically unfit than the other person, and I'm also very physically uncoordinated. So, but I'm trying.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. I'm trying, and willingness to try and learn and be better.
Yeah,
that's what's in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love the analogy. That's gonna stick with me. So, do you think it's possible to create new sparks in a long-term relationship when it's already plateauing?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the work I do, and many other professionals would do as well. I would believe and assume. It is absolutely. Currently, I'm running this online event web masterclass called "How to Get Your Honeymoon Days Back in Your Marriage." So it is absolutely possible.
So, what are some ways that you recommend to your clients?
Because if you could do it yourself, you would have done it. So you would need at this point external help. So either you do it yourself, which will take much longer, read a lot of books like I have, listen to a lot of podcasts like I have, and maybe spend 13 years like I have to learn. Or you can go and go to people who have already done those steps for themselves. They are ahead of you, and just plug and play, get the things that's needed for you from them and learn those and apply those instead of investing 13 years or almost about $150,000, $150,000 or more of money, of my own money in those developing those areas of mine. So it's up to you how you want to go about it.
Mm-hmm. I always like the idea of seeking external help because sometimes, both parties are biased. Inevitably, you have some biasedness towards yourself, and seeking third party help always assists in, just, taking a lot of the angry emotions out of it a bit and making like the tone you're speaking in a bit more neutral. And then that way the other person doesn't feel so attacked, because sometimes you can do that when we are high on emotions. It's just who we are. We are human. Yeah.
So spot on.
So
Yeah.
so couples therapy it should be normalized.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying.
Sorry, what I wanted to add actually was it's like coming back to, again, business partnership again, or starting a new business. Are you gonna be dumb enough to do thousands of mistakes by yourself and learning? Yes, making those mistakes are very important, but don't keep making the same mistakes, and just think more smartly. If somebody has made those mistakes ahead of you, why not learn from them and then avoid making those mistakes yourself and wasting that money, time, and energy in your business? So you would go to consultants, hire people who can, show you how to do things better in your business, hire a sales coach, hire whatever the business coach is you are hiring, and external help you're getting. So if you are doing that for your business, or even for your employment, you are continuously learning and updating your skills. Why wouldn't you do that for your relationship?
Mm-hmm. I did hear that that's a lot of couples go to couples therapy when it's already far too late and everything is crumbling down. How true is that? And how amendable are things at that point?
Yeah, so that does happen a lot, and it is still amendable. But again, the question becomes, if I can refer back to the verse of the Quran where the Almighty says, if you really want reconciliation, He takes the responsibility of making it happen. But that also means, are you taking the responsibility? Because in the next line, He says, the Almighty Creator is the ever knower and most well acquainted with, what you think and what you're doing. So even if at the end of our tether we are we're seeking help, external help, are we putting the maximum effort? Are we giving it our all? Or are we just like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I will see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. What is the attitude I'm taking there? The laid back attitude, and putting the responsibility on the person and on God. Oh, God said it's going to happen, so it's going to happen. I want it. No, God wants to see you are putting the effort as well. That's why He goes on to say that He knows everything and He is well acquainted with what you do. So yeah, go to the therapist or the counselor or the coach, whoever you're seeking help from, even if it's at the end of your tether, but give it your all, and it is possible to revive your relationship.
Absolutely. It's like you kind of get out of it what you put in.
Oh, so spot on. I love that.
So are there any other misconceptions about dying relationships that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, there's so many. I think I've mentioned a few already, that I can't change. What would people say? And things like, that's just who I am. Accept it or leave it. Those are a few of the things that would be the misconceptions. And what do the counselors know? They're not in the same boat. They're not in the same shoes. They haven't experienced it. They just read it on the books. So they don't get me. Those sort of mindset or misconception, if you bring it to the plate, it becomes hard for you to revive the relationship, and even just makes you hopeless that there is light at the end of the tunnel. This can be bright future together again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And are there any potential benefits or rewards that can come out of this recuperation process? Do couples ever feel like they come back stronger from this, so on and so forth, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. They people who put, as you have rightly put it so beautifully that you get what you put in. Yeah. So, exactly. So however you have put in, whatever you have put in, you will reap that result, reap the fruit, Yeah.
Are there any specific practices or exercises couples can use to reconnect both physically and emotionally? For example, a getaway. Obviously, a getaway is not going to solve anything, but it's kind of like, well, you can do all these on a getaway somewhere, and that might help, or maybe like daily activities together, something like that. Do you have any specific practices that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I would say the practice would go in several layers. So the first would be in the emotional level. So are we, first of all, again, coming to my own emotion? Am I understanding my emotion, my needs, what I want? Am I clear on those? And then understanding the other person's emotions, and then connecting with them emotionally, their love language. Understanding their love language, understanding my love language, and working together to meet each other's love language and the love cups. So that's the emotional level. Understanding the sexual level as well, what each one of us like, and then are we giving those? Are we creating a safe space to talk about it, and making an effort to give the other person that, even if it sort of makes me feel a little bit awkward because it's out of my comfort zone. So the growth mindset comes there. It comes to intellectual level. Are we reading, studying similar sort of things, so that we can talk about, even if it's not similar sort of things, whatever the person is interested in and whatever I'm interested in, do we talk to each other and educate each other on each other's, passion and topics of interest, intellectually? That comes to physical and recreational level as well. So are we doing similar sort of activities that brings us close together? And then even if it's not similar, if that person might not like what I like, are we putting an effort to be there for them, or giving them the space to enjoy and explore their own interest? It might not be my interest, or can I put an effort to show interest in that and be more inquisitive and curious to know and learn the other person's interests as well. So it goes in many different levels, and creating those exercise, how knowing each other's interests, and then creating some practices around those. The most important, I would say, is the exercise into healing your own trauma, each one's own trauma, so that we can be present for each other emotionally. And through that emotional connection, every other connection can be mended.
Yeah, I relate so hard to the last point you made about healing your own trauma, because oftentimes, like, if you don't heal your own trauma, there's no way you can help out with someone else.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I see in a lot of my friends' relationships as well. I'm not going to name names, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what advice would you give to individuals who feel discouraged or overwhelmed by that swamp of information that you just shared?
No.
There's so many things that go hand in hand,
Yeah.
so many levels to it.
Yeah.
It can feel quite
Overwhelming.
overwhelming,
Yeah.
especially at the start.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So take one section, take an account of all the areas of your life and your emotions and your needs, and then try and learn and grow in each area one at a time. And then it will become more chewable.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah. One at a time. And how can they stay motivated and persevere through these?
More what? Sorry, I missed that.
How could they stay motivated and persevere through it?
Challenging oneself to be the better leader, the best version of themselves they can be. having that growth mindset and putting systems around themselves to achieve that growth mindset, to work within that growth mindset. So let's say instead of just Netflixing, why don't we do something maybe creative, maybe recreational, fun, or we also one or the other, and it will change and vary. Can we learn something about our own self, our childhood trauma? Can we learn about relationship? Can we learn about each other's love language and so on and so forth? And then and maintaining that spark. Did you say what was the question? Maintaining that.
Yeah. How can one stay motivated and persevere to reignite the spark?
Yeah. So staying motivated depends on what you are putting in. So if you are putting in rubbish, you will feel rubbish. If you are putting in through visual, through ears, through mouth, whatever you're consuming, will become your motivation. If you are listening to sad songs all the time, you're gonna feel sad all the time. You know?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel so called out.
So can we switch our listening to sad songs to a podcast that's inspiring, that's motivating, that helps me feel like, yeah, I can do this, and let me take an action on this. You know?
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe I should start listening to some more upbeat material.
Yeah.
So when should... Sorry, let me rephrase this question because I actually just thought of it. So when should couples know when to call it quits instead of persevering through it? Is there a point in time, or is there some kind of sign to show that, it's time to call it quits, it's not worth it, it's time to move on?
Yeah. So it is actually such a multi-layered thing you have asked, and it is so different for each individual depending on their situation, their financial situation and safety and security and everything else, emotional situation. Sometimes they might feel, or might find, because of those things, children involved, property involved, they might think, I want to, try more. But are you trying in the right way? Are you seeking the right help, first of all? Once you have sought right help, the right tools, so you cannot undo a screw with a wrench. Are you using the right tools? Are you putting the right efforts? Once you have done those, once you have, first of all, found out what the right tools are, and then put an effort in those tools, with those tools, and asking for this external help, try to make yourself the best version of yourself, the best leader you can be. And then when the other person does the same, it becomes easier. When the other person doesn't, and you have a growth mindset, they don't have a growth mindset. You try all the tools that are given by your therapist, your counselor, your coach, and you show effort and patience. And even after that, nothing is changing. Then you got to ask yourself, have I given everything I could? Is this person ever gonna show up for me? And from there, you have choices. You can either stick with the person and knowing that that's the best I'm gonna get from this person. And with doing this relationship work, self-healing, leadership, and everything that comes with it, you'll see you have more resilience, and you can persevere more, and you have more strength to deal with that kind of behavior from the other person. But that doesn't mean you have limitless, So you got to ask at some point, do I continue knowing that this is the best I'm going to get from this person? Or do I know that I have done everything and there is something better waiting for me? Even if there is nobody waiting for me, I am there for myself. At least there is no one to drag me down. So So you have a choice to change it, to accept it, or to leave it. So that becomes your point after you have given it your all, learning the tools, going to the right people, seeking help from the right people, working on yourself. Then you are at a point where you can ask those questions. But before that, I think it's too early.
That's a really good answer. You did mention before, just briefly, several reasons why people might want to stay in a relationship and reignite it. What are some wrong reasons that people stay in relationships and as a result, maybe years on or later on in life, it eventually falls apart because it all started with the wrong reasons?
Yeah. So the wrong reasons are the very same things I have mentioned. The society, what would society say? The property, I understand the complication of it, but these are the wrong reasons. They make family, friends, or their children and as an excuse. I'm staying there, especially if it's a physically, emotionally abusive relationship, and they are saying we are staying together to have a family. Otherwise, they will be like from a broken family. Broken family kids are not brought up in a good way, or their psyche and everything. But being in an abusive family is much worse and much more detrimental for the kids. That's what kids are just an excuse. It's about, can I handle it if I leave the relationship? And most people are fearful that they can't handle it because they don't believe that they are enough to handle it, or they don't believe they can put that hard work to handle it. People are scared of hard work, but they don't realize what they are doing is harder. So one might be afraid of going to gym and train themselves to lift 150 kilo weight. Yeah, they have to train themselves, but training is a hard work. It's consistency, it's discipline. But they are holding on to half a cup filled glass, a water cup, for years and years. That makes your arm go sore and makes it worse for your posture and your ligaments and your joints. If you're holding that for 30 years, that is harder work. People don't realize that, but they are thinking, it's a half filled. It's probably 200 grams of water. It's not heavy. So I'll not go to the gym and build my muscles because that's heavier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does make sense. And it also sounds like people don't realize this because that harder work they're doing is all they've ever known.
Yeah.
And that less hard but still hard work, they're afraid to pursue it because they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a very frightening experience to go from one thing that you've always known to another.
That's right. And they don't see in the long run, this is taking a toll on my body and my mental health, my physical health, everything. Whereas going to the gym and, building myself up is hard for that moment, but I am getting stronger. So people doubt themselves. They have limiting beliefs about themselves that they can't handle it by themselves. They can't handle it physically, mentally, emotionally, finance-wise. And therefore, they stay in that marriage and going mentally more and more broke.
So are there any resources such as books, workshops, or types of therapy that you would recommend for couples looking to revive their relationship?
Absolutely. So start with reading mindset books, relationship books. Could be something like, knowing your attachment style, knowing your love language. It could be how you communicate, negotiate, those sort of books, psychology books, understanding behavior and patterns, self-healing books, how you heal your childhood trauma. And with trauma, people might think, oh, I didn't have like an external trauma, like plane crash or somebody, died in a road accident, or I myself had an accident, or PTSD, somebody coming back from a war. They are traumas, yes, very visible, but there are emotional wounds, emotional traumas as well we go through in childhood. Yeah, in our childhood, it's like the neglect. I needed a hug, and my mother or my father said they didn't even realize, and they pushed me away. That is a trauma for a child. And our childhood biology becomes our biography in adulthood. So we will run those trauma cycles, the trauma understanding and the adaptation, and how we have learned to navigate those trauma and those rejection. We would do the same thing over and over again, those same patterns that we have learned from our childhood, not knowing, not understanding that those are outdated versions, outdated softwares. I don't need it now. I need to change my software, meaning my childhood, thinking patterns. So work on your traumas. Everybody has that, even if you haven't gone to fight a war and lost an arm and a leg. Everybody has that. What else? Go seek counseling, therapy, or life coaching. I myself do lots of workshop and master classes and run courses for people who want to shorten their journey and learning.
I love that you used the term software.
Yes.
Because that makes it sound a lot more approachable and relatable. We are all kind of familiar with the idea of software updates, and it's just essentially the same thing but with yourself, and I guess you have to be the one doing the updating. Because just as phones need software updates, we need software updates. I love that.
It keeps coming to you. Do you want to update? We say no. Are we doing
no, tomorrow. tomorrow.
That's what I
keep procrastinating.
So are we doing the same in our relationship and emotional management,
Yeah. All right. So now we'll move on to questions from the audience. The first question is, are there any common mistakes that couples make when trying to revive the spark, and how can they be avoided?
Yeah, and the common mistakes are that the other person need to change. I don't need to change. They need to make the effort, and they need to understand me. But the approach should be, I need to understand myself and the other person, and I need to understand what I can do better, where I can do better, and support the other person, not just seeking support. Yes, I'm going to say what I need, but if that's the only thing I'm focused on, then it's not going to work. So it is about what I am bringing in for myself to meet my own needs and emotion, and then also for the other person, and how can I be better, instead of just wanting the other person to understand me and do better.
It's like also kind of leading by example. If the other person sees you exercising some empathy and understanding, they might be a bit more open to replicating these actions as well.
Absolutely.
So what role does intimacy and physical connection play in reigniting the spark?
Well, I think intimacy and physical connection, as in, do you mean the sex, or do you mean the physical touch, or emotional intimacy? If you could be clearer.
Yeah, well, emotional intimacy and also physical connection. So I guess a bit of both.
Yeah. So you see, I would say the physical intimacy would come if the emotional intimacy and safety of the person involved are met. That is the product, or that is the consequence of having a good process. Meaning that when you work on your emotion and how to build that connection, emotional connection, or how to make it safe for the other person emotionally so that they can open up. Meaning, I'm not going to taunt them. I'm not going to tease them. I'm not going to be sarcastic when they open up, or I'm not going to mock them or use it as a weapon when the other person is vulnerable and showing their weaknesses or expressing their weaknesses. I don't take it, write it down and use it as,
as ammunition
later. So when I can do that and make the space between us safe for the other person, and the other person can relax into themselves, then the physical connection, those were the process, right? Then the physical connection is an automatic, logical sequence of the process. The physical touch, the physical, the sex, all those things. Now, if I am not, like even with you, if I don't feel safe, if we were face to face, I wouldn't hug you. Or if I don't know do you like to be hugged, I wouldn't hug you. So I have to know what you like, what you don't like, if you are going to respond. And when we have built that relationship, it's easy for me and both of us to hug each other, yeah? But when we are upset at each other, if I go and touch you, you'll be like, don't, that subtle touch. Like, I'm not ready, and I don't want that connection. So the physical bit is the logical sequence of the emotional safety we have created for each other.
That's really, really good advice. So how important is it for couples to make time for each other and prioritize their relationship in order to revive the love?
Absolutely. I don't think it's at all important. Not at all important.
Really?
Yeah. You know why?
That's surprising.
It is surprising.
Why? Let me
explain. Let me explain. So it depends how important is a relationship to me. Say I want to go to London. How important is me or my home country? How important is it for me to visit my home country or go to London or whatever country I want to go to? How important is it? Will determine how much money I am willing to spend on it, time, energy I'm willing to spend on it, how much I am willing to say, what vehicle am I using? Am I using my own car? Am I using an airplane? So if I'm going to the airport, I'm going to make sure that I don't miss my flight. I'm going to make sure the car I'm taking doesn't break down in the middle of the road. I'm going to make sure my car is serviced properly so that the breakdown doesn't happen. So how important is it for me to reach that destination will determine how much effort I'm going to put in all of these steps. So if I don't want to go there, or if somebody is pushing me to go there, I'll make sure something goes wrong and I don't go there and reach there. So your question was, how important is it to, if you could
make time for each other and prioritize their relationship?
Exactly. So now if we can change each step into making time and making energy for each other and using the tools, using the process for each other, it depends on how important is it to you, that relationship, or what is the goal of your relationship? How much do you want the relationship?
Right. So it's really like a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
And I guess it's also, it also depends on whether your love language is quality time. And then again, it's quality time, not quantity time, right?
Yeah.
So, it's more about what you do together. And
first of all, you have to decide if the relationship is important enough for you. Then anything else, do you realize that that relationship, does it affect other part of your other areas of your life? So do you think if that relationship breaks down, you will be a mess in other areas of your life? if you realize that, you're gonna do everything to maintain it. That's the vehicle. You're gonna do everything to maintain your car to go to the airport. Does that make sense?
Yes, that definitely does make sense. I believe that's all the questions from the audience that we have.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on to the open mic, and this is your chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be related to the topic as long as it's not about politics or religion. So the floor is yours. Take it away.
So I am really actually passionate about relationship, leadership, knowing myself, knowing my needs, understanding my wounds, my childhood triggers, my childhood trauma, and healing those. I'm really, really big on those things. I'm big on helping people. I think that's pretty much right now what keeps me going. Yeah, and
That's lovely. I relate to that so hard because I just I'm turning 25 this year. So it's like my mid-20s. It's a milestone. And for once, I feel like I'm getting somewhere with regards to like improving myself and
beautiful.
healing my childhood trauma or teenage trauma. And I feel like I'm focusing on myself now more than ever. And it's so rewarding.
Beautiful. And I congratulate you. You are so young and you already realize that these are the areas that you need to work on. And everybody.
I'm not that young. How old are you? How young are you?
How young am I? Well, let's just say
Give me a ballpark.
Yeah, close to 40 around. Yeah.
What? No way. You don't look a day over like 33.
Thank you
And
so
the
much.
only reason I said 33 is because you mentioned something about like 13
Yes,
years.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, that sounds like something a 20-year-old might do.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. No, I'm very shocked. Drop your skincare routine. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
So if our listeners want to find out more about you, where can they go?
They can find me on Facebook. If they go and search on Facebook by Rebeca Islam, they can find me on YouTube. They can find me on LinkedIn. Currently, I'm locked out of LinkedIn though.
That's unfortunate.
That is, yeah. Those are the main platforms you will be able to find me and message me, and I will get in touch with you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Rebeca, for joining us today. If you want to find her, you can go to her socials, Rebeca Islam. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will catch
Rebecca
you next
with
episode.
one C. If I can add, Rebecca with one C.
Yes. We will type it down in the show notes so people don't make a spelling error.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you next episode.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Reloscope, the Relationship Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. For more episodes like this from 10 different life management perspectives, search LMSL on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get updated on everything we have to offer. We have a wide range of topics readily available for you to check out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel as it helps us grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at re.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Stella. Thanks for tuning in.